Okay, stand by the drive.
I'm Georgie Ainslie, which means I'm Ben's wife. So welcome to our new home, effectively. And alongside me is Matt Cornwell, who's a key part of the sailing team. So before we get stuck into a lot of chatter about what's been going on in the lead up to this race weekend, let's just show you how our story began. The America's Cup left British waters in 1851, and we've never seen it since. The Americans, Australians, Swiss and Kiwis have all had their taste of America's Cup victory. It's now our time to take back the trophy and defend it on the waters where it all began. We're in a new era of yacht racing. We're not sailing anymore, we're flying. In just 1 year, Land Rover BAR have constructed a 72,000 square foot team HQ. That will be home to an interactive visitors and education centre with royal patronage from the Duchess of Cambridge. We have a team of highly skilled staff and apprentices to design, build and race the winning boat come 2017. While we are set on becoming the second team in history to win the America's Cup as a first-time challenger, we've been set up as a commercially successful sports team to look beyond 2017. The team are looking to raise the bar, with the support of our sustainability partner 11th Hour Racing, to become a truly sustainable business and lead the way by educating and inspiring younger generations who will then drive sustainability forward instinctively. So we urge you to get behind Land Rover BAR and show your support in Portsmouth in the first step to bringing the Cup home. This is where everything happens as far as the team are concerned, where the boat is built, where the sailing team meetings take place, and the hub of everything that is Land Rover BAR. But for this weekend only, the boat, as with the other boats entered in the America's Cup World Series, are being held down at the Portsmouth Historic Dockyard. So we thought it'd be a good idea to take you down there and show you what's happening down there. With our reporter, who we can go to now, Mark Chisnell. Mark, just describe the atmosphere and what's going on down there.
Good morning. Yes, we've got proper British conditions down here this morning. It's pouring with rain, but it's not dampened anyone's enthusiasm for this event. We've had some big crowds down here to look at the boats overnight and this morning. And these are people who haven't seen sailing before, they haven't seen the America's Cup before, but it's the technology that's brought them down here, the newness and the speed. I spoke to one lady whose son is a pilot, so she's fascinated by the idea that these are sailboats that are driven by wings and fly on wings, and they're really, really excited to see these boats take flight this afternoon.
And what have the team been doing this morning?
This morning, the shore crews arrived early. They were all down here 8:30, and when they started to put the boats across from the basin where they spent the night by HMS Victory and move them across the causeway out into the little channel and then out into the harbour where you see them behind me on the external moorings. So right now we have 6 boats. It's a 3-hour process to do this. It takes about a half an hour for each boat. They have to lift it up with a crane, very carefully, gingerly put it down in the water on the other side of the causeway, and then motor them out to the mooring where they sit and wait for the sailing crews.
They've got a few hours or so until practice gets underway. What happens between now and then?
What happens next is that the sailing crews start to arrive. They'll be down here shortly. They'll be motoring out to the boats. They'll be going on board. They'll be doing all their final checks. Obviously the shore crews have been through it once, but the guys on the boats who are responsible for making this stuff work and taking it around the course, they'll want to be sure that everything is right and they're happy with everything. They'll complete those final checks, and then the boats will leave this technical area at 12:30 and head out to the race course, where they'll start to do some tune-up runs. They'll get in the groove, get some practice, feel comfortable on the race course, and then it'll be all on this afternoon. We have a couple of practice starts and some practice racing, and like those crowds this morning, I can't wait to see it happen.
Thanks very much indeed. We'll come back to you a little bit later. Cat flap, I mean, let's just deal with the obvious. It's wet. It's really wet. I mean, that's an occupational hazard when you're a sailor. But what about the conditions today, other than the rain?
Yeah, you get what you get. It's raining. That's no problem for us, though. The guys have got some of the best sailing gear in the world. Henry Lloyd, I know, are here. But the breeze should build. We're looking at mid-teens to high teens, possibly gusting up to 20s later on. So getting up towards the top end of what we normally sail in. So it should be pretty good out there.
Teams have been practicing, haven't they, over the course of this week and leading up to this event as well. What are they looking out for specifically today? What will Ben and the team be really focusing on?
A number of things, really. One of the things we're really focusing on, because it's the first event, is how we set the boat up. So, you know, everyone's got different ideas, and some of the things about these boats are quite new, even though they've done the World Series before. So, yeah, wing setup, foil setup. So validating what we think is fast compared to what everyone else is doing. We've got a new set of rules, so we've got to make sure we're sharp on our rules, and just making sure that when we go into the racing tomorrow, we're absolutely on point.
Shall we look at the team in a bit more detail? Show everybody who's on the boat. This reveals who is going to be on the boat. Of course, you know that Ben is going to be at the helm, skippering the boat. We've got CJ, Andy McLean, who's our reserve sailor, Nick Hutton's our trimmer, Freddie Carr, our runner, Giles Scott on the map. What are you laughing at?
Particularly Nick's face there. He looks really happy about something.
Yeah, he's been told to smile, clearly. Jono Macbeth, who looks very menacing. He's your sailing team manager. So how does this balance work out of this team? How does it work when you're on a boat together? How closely do you have to work together?
These boats, probably more than any other boat I've sailed, you really need to know each other's jobs. All the roles interact. You have to help each other out quite a lot. So we've got a real mixture of tactical nouns with 3 of the guys and a whole lot of horsepower. Everyone's been training really hard. We've got some super fitness on board. The guys are looking mean and lean. They just did their weigh-in this morning in their underpants, and they look like they've a bunch of prison inmates that have been working out for a long time. They're looking really ripped. So yeah, I think they'll be really sharp today. And we've also got our trimmers on board who will be making sure that the sails and the wing are all set up right, and they're our guys that make sure we go super fast out there.
Just tell us, sorry, we're sharing a microphone, obviously. Just tell us a little bit about the training regime that these guys go through to be match fit effectively. I mean, Ben this morning, for a bit of personal insight, had a bath in about 120 degrees in order to sort of sweat it all out. He's basically behaving like a jockey would ahead of race day. And it's that sort of mentality, isn't it, that's needed to go into this weekend?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think now more than ever, the America's Cup is like a real professional sport in that you have to be pretty athletic. We've been training super hard. So weigh-in day today was a big one. There's a maximum weight limit. Everyone has to average 87.5 kilos, as times 5 is the top weight, and so we had to make sure we're below that. But also we need to be as powerful as we can. The boats are really physical, especially when the breeze is up, which is going to be all weekend. We've got a really fit team on there. I think compared to other teams, I think it's going to be a strength for us. We've got our trainer, Ben Williams, who's an ex-para. He's been whipping us into shape. I've never had so much pain in my life since I met that guy. But pain and pleasure. It's really good fun. We're getting fit, and he's doing a really good job with us.
And it's obviously not just, as you've mentioned about Ben Williams, it's not just the sailors that are making this happen, is it? There's a huge team behind you. Jono Macbeth, a key player as well. Just tell people about him and what he's been doing and how he's been contributing.
Yeah, Jono, he's massive experience. You can see some of it there. A multiple America's Cup winner. He was with Oracle last time, one of the grinders on the boat. When they did that massive comeback, they were 9-1 down against Team New Zealand and managed to pull it back and win the America's Cup, which is, an incredible story. He was a big part of that. And we're very fortunate that he's decided to come with us. He's got a British passport, so he's a Kiwi, but he's almost one of us, and we're teaching him our ways. And he just keeps us in shape. He's been running the schedules for this weekend, for example, and the schedule's just a nightmare. We call it the beat test. There's no downtime. You're always on to the next thing. And but he's excellent, and he's certainly got a mean streak. You don't want to cross him. If you get the evil eye from Jono, you know about it. So, he's been doing an excellent job with us.
Would you believe there's actually a stage production of Macbeth going on in Portsmouth this week as well? So as omens have it, well, we'll see how that all pans out. But anyway, so back then when Jono and Ben were on the same race boat for the America's Cup, that was in San Francisco. That was on an AC-72. What they're going to be racing this weekend, they're AC-45Fs. Let's show you around the boat.
This is the AC-45F, the boat we'll be using in the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. It's 45 foot long, and we use these dagger foils to fly it out of the water. This fixed wing lets us go over 40 miles an hour. Let me show you around the boat. These are the hulls, made of carbon fibre, really strong but really lightweight. In an ideal world, these hulls would never touch the water, but it's what keeps us afloat when we're not foiling. This is the all-important dagger foil. The main bit of the foil is underneath me, and that's the bit that we lower into the water and pops us out of the water to get foiling at high speeds. This is the biggest power source on the boat. This is our engine, the rigid wing sail. I'm now on the bow of the boat where our other power sources sit. Our jib, which stays up the whole time, and our code 0 that we pull up especially for downwind speed. So there you have it, our AC45F, our one design boat that will be racing in Portsmouth, Gothenburg and Bermuda later this year.
Cavlap, let's pick up on what Freddie just said there, a one design boat. So surely this weekend is all about the team and the sailors.
Yeah, absolutely. The boats, they're all the same. We're scrutineered. The boats get weighed and measured to make sure that everything is the same. And so it really does come down to sailing skill. We've also been limited on how much time we can train in the boats. We've been limited to 10 days before this event, which, you know, is really not a lot at all. So yeah, it is really the skill of the sailors. So it's a real true competition out there.
I was lucky enough yesterday to go out on one of the chase boats, and then I jumped on for the parade of sail on one of the race boats. I mean, it's absolutely terrifying. It's completely and utterly, you just can't get your head around how these things are doing what they're doing out there. What's it like as a sailor to be on one of these things and actually in a race scenario?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, when you first step on one, I mean, this is all new to us, really. This is a bit of a revolution in the America's Cup and in our sport, so it is a new sensation. And even for those that have sailed catamarans before, it's another step up from that, and it is pretty frightening. I mean, catamarans, when it's windy, you don't really feel like you're that much in control, and these things, you're definitely not in control. So it's yeah. Ben will be fine out there, though. Don't worry, we've got good safety kit. But it's them to add 5 boats into the mix as well. It suddenly adds that extra dimension. So it's been great having the other teams here and training with them. And yeah, it's fantastic. We were talking through some of the rules this morning with the umpires, and there's actually some serious safety issues out there with the boats going so fast that we all need to make sure the rules are kind of covering us on that. So we've had to even tweak the rules a little bit.
So how do we go about winning this thing? I mean, obviously, in terms of the points, let's just explain how that works, because this is the America's Cup World Series, everybody, but it is part of the America's Cup proper, which races in Bermuda in 2017, and points matter this weekend, don't they?
Yeah, they do. There's actually points on offer for the Louis Vuitton Challenger Series, so it is actually very important. I mean, it's important for us anyway. It's good for us to keep race sharp. And obviously, for all of you guys, sponsors, friends, family, it's important that we're putting a good show, especially when we're here in our new hometown. So yeah, this is a really important event for us. And I mean, to win it, we've probably hopefully done it already. All the hard work's been done before this event. We've been training really hard. We've got, even though we can only sail this boat for 10 days, we've got another boat which is very similar. So we've been spending a massive amount of time out there in the water. We sailed all through the winter in frankly horrible conditions, and sometimes in the snow. We were pushing the boat out. Again, we had great kit from Henry Lloyd, fantastic dry suits.
How much more kit do you want?
Yeah, well, we need all of it. It is actually really important. So yeah, I think that the training we've done against other teams so far are actually looking pretty good out there. So hopefully the hard work's already done.
So practice today, then 2 races tomorrow, and then on Sunday it's a double point scenario. So Sunday matters more than ever. In terms of what it means as well for the Challenger Series, I mean, first place with 2 up on points, second place 1 up on points. I mean, this is all counting towards Bermuda, and as we saw from what happened in San Francisco, every point matters. Yeah,
it really does. Yeah, that was a great example that, they actually had a couple of points docked for other reasons. Oracle, well, let's not go into that. But, if one more point was docked, or if they hadn't got that extra race, then, that was it. That was the race over. So, yeah, we're here to win points.
Yeah, and then hopefully progress through the Challenger Series to the semi-finals and, of course, ultimately the finals. Now, in terms of who else is out there on the race course today, there will be not just BAR, of course, but a whole host of other teams. Who do you see as the main threat out there?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's easy to say, but actually, all the teams could have their day. And because the last day is double points, we could have a bad last day, and actually that could really affect us, or one of the teams that's been struggling could jag a race and actually do pretty well. But that said, there are some teams that we've sort of marked out being stronger from the training we've done. Oracle Team USA, no surprises, is looking really sharp. I think we're going to have some good tussles with them. Artemis, they've been on point too. Both those teams have been training hard out in Bermuda in their sort of turboed version of these boats. So yeah, I'd say they'll be our main competition. Emirates, Team New Zealand, you can never count them out. My whole sailing career, basically been beaten by them more times than I've probably beaten them. They've always been strong. They never show up to a regatta or an event and don't do well. So yeah, those would be the main ones. The Japanese are new. The French haven't had as much time. They've only really just put their teams together a bit last minute. So probably not quite up to scratch yet. But then again, as I said, you never know. This is the first event, new boats, anything could happen really.
You're all mates outside of what goes on the race course, but when push comes to shove, those friendships just get put to one side, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely, they're gone. There's no friendships out on the race course. I think Ben probably, as you know, he's more that way than anyone I know. I mean, already the guys this morning, the game faces are on. They're ready for a rumble out there. This is serious stuff.
So the practice getting underway this afternoon. I think the first practice race starts at 1 o'clock and it runs through till 3:30, and it'll be raced just over there. We can see from this flight deck area just behind us where the sailing course will be. Let's take a more detailed look at it now.
Okay, so this is the opening event of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. The racing will be carried out just off South Sea seafront, between the South Sea Castle and Spitsand Fort. And the racing will literally be within 50 metres of the shore. The start. The 6-boat fleet will be fighting for position here on the start line. It's only just wide enough to fit all the boats. It's going to be tight. The boats will accelerate to speeds of 40 miles an hour within seconds. From the start, it's just 300 to 400 metres to the first turning mark. Leg 2 onto the first downwind where the wind's behind them. This is an important part of the race. Boat handling is very tough here, how they get the boats through the manoeuvres. Okay, heading on to leg 3, they can choose the even mark. After a clean mark rounding, the crew will be trying to stay on their foils for as long as possible. But as they go into the wind, the speed will decrease and they'll come down onto one hull. Leg 3, they're sailing back up into the wind. It's a slower point of sailing. Onto leg 4, the wind is behind them. The boats will be straight up onto the foils, racing down the course for the final downwind leg of the race. Okay, in a 1-lap course, the boats will be heading to the finish here for the final turning mark. So it's going to be important to cover the opposition, to keep ahead of them and to try and stop them passing like a Formula 1 driver would, blocking any attacks. At the final gate, there's a left turn to the finish, which is another high-speed leg. If the boats can keep on their foils, then they'll be still at 30 or 40 miles an hour, and they'll be hitting that finish at speed right in front of the crowds on the South Sea Common.
Of course, what we failed to mention is that this is fleet racing in these AC45Fs. So it's not match racing, which we've seen before in the America's Cup, but fleet racing. How much more exciting is that going to make it?
I think it really does make it more exciting, and it's sort of the way that the reason they brought it in to the America's Cup now is that it's great and there's just that much more to see. I mean, match racing is fantastic too. It has its sort of place. It's very combative, just boat on boat. But yeah, fleet racing, it just adds all those elements, and it's great for spectators and TV, and that's part of what we're trying to do. The America's Cup now is to make it a little bit more friendly and spectator friendly, so that we can all enjoy it.
Naturally, the focus this weekend on the America's Cup and on the America's Cup World Series, but I mean, the reason why this base has been built is for so much more than that. We're not just talking about one campaign, or we hope we're not. We're looking forward to many, many years, aren't we, of not just maybe America's Cup competition, maybe some other stuff we do from here.
Yeah, absolutely. If this is the only thing we do with this base, then we've failed, and I think Portsmouth would probably feel that way as well, having invested money with us on it. But this is really about the future, and it's sort of a dream of all of ours, really. And we're so happy that this has come along. I think all of us have hoped for something like this in our career. And we want to create a legacy and set up a centre of excellence for British yacht racing and sailing. And hopefully we can do that from this base, and you know, we're getting a lot of support. It's important that we use British companies whenever we can, and you know, really bed ourselves in here for the future.
Let's see if technology allows us. I'm going to attempt to go back down live to Portsmouth Historic Dockyard, where we can catch up with Mark Chisnell once more. Mark, final thoughts ahead of practice.
To borrow a phrase from Winston Churchill, this is the end of the beginning. A lot of people in the team have put a huge amount of work in to get us this far, but today, right here, right now, the 35th America's Cup starts for real. This is the first time a British team has contested an official America's Cup event on British waters since 1851. I've been involved in this game for 30 years. This is a day I've been waiting for a very, very long time. Let's get going, let's get it on.
Thanks, Mark, and that's how we all feel. We feel like there's been so much preparation in the build-up, don't we, to this race weekend, and it's really special that we get to host the first America's Cup World Series event here in Portsmouth, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, certainly for us, there's a huge amount of pride involved to be able to fly our flag. It's up there on the wing, and we're out here on home waters. Yeah, this is really fantastic. You know, this is kind of a dream come true for the team. It's the first event, and it's ours, so it's great.
So the practice session's getting underway. They start at 1 o'clock through till 3:30. We have a landing show here with Michael Grade at 4:30, where he's going to be catching up with one of the BAR sailing team members to find out exactly what happened out on the water, and there'll be a Q&A session as well available for you guys to ask questions. We're going to be streaming that live as well, and talking various highlights. Questions, you can ask those on Facebook or on our Twitter page as well. Just use the hashtag Land Rover BAR. Have a fabulous first day, and thank you so much all for being here. Thank you.
3, 2, 1, go forward. Okay, stand by the drive.